Welcome to the GCN Tech Clinic, where we aim to answer your bike maintenance and cycling related questions. As ever, you can submit your questions down in the comments section below using the hashtag askgcntech, and we'll do our best to answer as many of them as we can within the allotted time. Although this week I'm flying solo because Alex has gone on a mission over to America because he's going to be doing Big Sugar with his wife Chloe. So make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss content that's coming out on that. It's going to be it's going to be good. So first up this week we have a question from Kevlar, who says, can you use tubeless rim tape on non-tubeless wheels, like clincher style wheels? Yes, in theory you can. Some rim tape can be very heavy duty, so it can actually be a bit of a weight saving to use tubeless tape on there. And think of it like this: when your tubeless system fails and you put an inner tube in that system, that's effectively going on that same tubeless tape. So the question you're asking is, can tubeless tape take the pressure of an inner tube? Yes, it should be able to, so that should work. User BT3CF8SD7K next has a question saying, thanks for the shout out. Just to manage expectations though, the Bristol bike project sells bikes that start at £200. They've all been fully refurbished by professional mechanics. So this is in response to a question that was in a tech clinic a few weeks back, where we spoke about buying a used bike and said that there are great initiatives, like one particularly here in the southwest of England, in Bristol. But yeah, that's a good point. So if you are buying from one of these places, the fact that they might be a little bit more expensive, but it's still a non-for-profit and they've been made, serviced by a fully trained mechanic is a great thing. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. IDJ Kiko next, who says, hi GCN, thanks for your weekly contribution and helping the cycling community improve and be the best. No worries, mate. My question is, if my crankset automatically spins, is this bad? In a previous video, Ollie did a free hub check and stated that his drivetrain had no friction, wondering if I have an issue that needs attention. I think what you're referring to there is a dragging free hub. So this is easy to check. If your bike is in a stand, or if you don't have a stand, if you just lift your bike up, if you spin the crank so that the rear wheel starts spinning freely in the air, when you stop turning the crank, if the wheel is still spinning and you're doing the free hub sound check thing, but then the wheel is making the crank still turn round, that's because there is some friction in the system, and it's what we call a free hub dragging, and the free hub is dragging and turning the crank. So if you're still spinning the pedal and still turning the cranks, this isn't a problem, but it does mean that if you're freewheeling, some energy is dragging in the free hub system there and you are losing a little bit of energy. It's not the end of the world. Your bike is still perfectly rideable, it's still really good, and as I said, you're only having a slight penalty in freewheeling. So if you were to enter a freewheeling competition, they do exist, you would have a suboptimal setup. It's quite a cool thing actually. A lot of old cycling clubs used to do them, where you'd start on a big hill and the idea is that you're not allowed to pedal, everyone sets off at the top and just freewheels down. We should probably do one for a video. It'd be a fun thing to do. But yeah, that's probably, I think, what's happening there. So you can probably fix that by servicing your free hub. We have videos on how to service different kinds of free hubs, or if you're not sure, take it to a bike shop and they can help you with that as well. Adam We2BD is next and says, how many tubes of sunscreen does a pro cyclist use in a season, training and racing? I mean, I have no idea, but I asked Lloydie, and he said he had no idea, but he did always have tubes of sunscreen on the bus that were used communally by the whole team, and he reckoned they did use quite a lot, although he said it's something that he thinks has actually changed and they use a lot more now. And he did say that back in his day, which isn't too long ago, believe it or not, that, 15 years ago or so, that he reckoned that there was not enough sunscreen used, and he said they do use more now. But if you watch Sai's excellent video on the subject of skin cancer in cycling, the answer would probably be still not enough if you were asking for the opinion of a consultant dermatologist. So there you go. Check out Si's video. It's a good one. Kai Dean says, my current bike is my first with a tubeless setup. How often should I be thinking about changing the sealant? I've ridden about 1,500 kilometers on the current sealant. This is a how long is a piece of string question. We get asked this regularly. It depends on so many factors. Another factor that we maybe haven't mentioned before that it does depend on is the type and brand of sealant. But yeah, so many things affect it: the climate, how much you ride, how much sealant you put in, the brand of sealant. The best thing to do is to just check, and you can simply check by removing the valve core of your valve and then inserting something long and thin as like a dipstick into the valve, with the valve at the 6 o'clock position, so the sealant's settled at the bottom, and then just seeing if you still have liquid sealant when you pull it out. If you have no more liquid sealant in there, it's time to do something about it. Davida8906 is next and says, not really a tech question, but can you tell me if standing during an FTP test is acceptable? Both Trainer Road and Zwift ramp tests I've done say not to, but recently a couple of GCN presenters have been seen standing during ramp tests. Well, recently Hank did a video on doing several different FTP tests over several different days, and I saw in that there were some comments about people saying that you shouldn't be standing in the test. So it depends on the test protocol. Certain tests do stipulate you should be seated, but it depends on how you get your power out and what you're training for. So you can do this in several different ways. In the past, I've done FTP tests that were specifically for time trialing, for example. So you often find that your power that you can produce in an FTP test is lower when you're in an aero time trial position. Consequently, trying to train to numbers that have been set by zones when you did something in an upright road bike position might not be possible, and you might find it really hard and you might set unrealistic zones. But so it's better to maybe set something within that framework of actually trying to do the specificity of what you're training for. But also, I would argue that it's fine to do an FTP test out the saddle if where you're wanting to really perform is out the saddle. So for someone like Andrew Feather, he produces so much more power, or Alberto Contador, so much more power out of the saddle, standing and climbing. If they're trying to train for climbs and that, then that's I would say a perfectly fine sort of thing to do. The one thing is that overall, if you can train yourself to climb seated, it's usually more efficient, and that's not just from the biological efficiency point of view, but also it's just more aerodynamic a lot of the time as well, and you're saving a bit more energy by being seated, not having to support all your own body weight as much. But yeah, it depends. You can do them out the saddle or in the saddle, just be aware of what that means. Next one is Emma Bird 9745, who says, hi Ollie, so you've got this Super Fandango Bikebox and you've got to your destination and you've assembled your bike for your camping holiday or bikepacking holiday. What do you do with the Bikebox while you're off enjoying yourself? This was under a video we did about how not to destroy your bike when traveling. This is a good question because you're absolutely right. So what you can do in those situations is use alternative forms of transport to get there. So maybe you could travel on the train with your bike rather than fly. Although one tactic I've seen done by people is you go to a bike shop and they often have their cardboard boxes that the new bikes come in, and they're just chucking them away. So you can get them for free as long as you're nice and maybe buy it in a tube or something. And you can get some packaging as well, and you can pack your bike into a cardboard box. And then when you get to your destination for your bike packing adventure, just dispose of that packaging, chuck it in a recycling bin somewhere. And then when you come to the end of your adventure, cycle to another bike shop, wherever you are that you've been bikepacking, and do the same. Just get a fresh cardboard box and tape up your box in that. And these cardboard boxes, when packed correctly with loads of padding and foam and the rest of it, they can actually be really sort of safe and secure for looking after your bike. After all, most new bikes are shipped in boxes like this all over the world. So That would be my advice for that particular thing. Although there are also some left luggage solutions you can do, but that's probably going to cost you quite a bit more. But yeah, hopefully that helps you. That's unfortunately all we've got time for this week. So if we've not got around to answering your question, then be persistent. Just keep firing them down in the comment section below. Hashtag askgcntech. And we'll do our best to answer them in a future video. But yeah, hope you found this useful. And I'll see you in the next one. Love you. Bye.